Hi everybody, I'm going to show you how to use pixel art on your monochromatic landscapes. The first thing I have on my screen right now that you can see is my thumbnail sketch. I'm going to pick the thumbnail sketch that I like the best. In this case, I can definitely see that I have elements in the foreground, in the case of my pine tree and bunny, elements in my middle ground, my smaller pine tree to show that it's in the distance, and items kind of moving in towards my background. And I'm going to be able to use each of these layers to create my monochromatic landscape. Now, I have this up on my screen. I'm going to go ahead and set up my canvas in pixel art and then get started with my drawing. Looking over on my canvas, you can see I've set it a lot bigger than when we did pixel art before. I've set my width to 500 and my height to 700. Now, looking at my sketch again, you can see that my sketch is taller than it is wide. Your sketch may be the opposite. So if your sketch is wider than it is tall, just reverse these two. Set your width to 700 and height to 500. I'm going to click New Drawing, and it's going to pop up a new drawing on my screen. Now, if I can't see the whole drawing in my picture, I can go on to the right-hand side of my screen and see my zoom tools. I can zoom in and out, so I can go ahead and zoom out, and then I'll be able to see the whole canvas on my screen. Alright guys, the first thing I'm going to do is make my gradient background. If I look over, I can see that I'm on my background layer. That's in the tab over on the right, we can see that. And I'm going to look for something called a gradient. And if I hover over, I can see something called the gradient tool. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and click on that. Now, if I choose to use it right now, if I click and drag, I'm going to see something grayscale. I'm going to see black into white. That's because those are the two colors I have selected here. To change that, I can hit undo, and I'm going to go ahead and change my colors. Now, I have lots of different options in my color palette, so I want to start thinking about a monochromatic image. So I'm just going to pick one color. So I like these purples here. Maybe the blues. Lots of choices here. So you guys can go through to the choices you like. I think I'm going to go with these sort of turquoise colors here. So I'm going to start with sort of some of my lighter colors in here. Drop that down. Now I can switch this color as well. You can see kind of where I want my sky to go. I'm going to want my sky to start dark and get lighter at the bottom. So now I use my gradient tool to click and pull down. So I go from dark to light, as you guys can see. Now, this is just the first thing that I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to start adding my layers now. I can see that I'm already sort of scrolled to where I can go dark and light with this same color, and I can see how dark it can get. I'm actually going to kind of click on that color right now. That's a really dark version of it. I can make it even darker. If I click and pull down a little bit, I can go a little bit darker with that color if I'd like to. What I'm going to do is look back to my reference image and start drawing my first layer. I see that the tree and grass is pretty located towards the bottom. I've clicked on my pencil tool, and I'm going to create a new layer to draw on. And this, guys, is really, really important. Click the plus sign to add a layer, and this is going to separate it from what's in the background. Now, when I have my pencil tool selected, and I go to draw my tree, I'm going to kind of go to draw my tree right now on my screen. I'm going to draw some of my grass in there too on this layer, kind of just the idea of grass. Because I'm in a separate layer, when I click on my fill tool and fill that area, I have filled my entire space. Now, if I click back to my picture, I'll notice that I added a bunny there, so I can stay on the same layer. I can click back to my pencil tool, and I can draw my bunny in there. So what's cool about this fill tool is I can kind of continue to draw, continue to add things to this layer, because I'm still in the same layer, and I can still fill it. So let's get my bunny in there. I can jump back to my fill tool, fill in his ears, his head, and his body. Now, I've added all that in. If I've missed a spot, I can always go back to my pencil tool and clean it up. So there we go. Next, super important thing. I'm going to make a new layer again. This is going to be the other layer that I draw on, and I'm going to move up a little bit in my values. So I'm going to move maybe to a lighter but sort of middle of the range teal that I'm going on with here. I have my pencil tool. I'm going to check my next layer. All right, I have a nice slope with a pine tree, and I'm actually going to go ahead and draw it all the way across. I'm going to cut through the layer I already have. I'm going to create that nice slope that I have and draw my smaller, it's further in the background, so it's a little bit smaller. Pine tree going backwards. Now, when I go ahead and I grab my paint bucket tool, you're going to notice that it fills everything in, and you're going to think, oh, did I mess up? One of the cool things I did, because I have a separate layer, is I can move that layer down. There's a little down button here that you're going to notice, and I can, boom, pop it right behind the layer I already created. Now, I'm going to kind of go up another few levels and do the same thing. I'm going to check back to my reference image. Say, okay, I have a pretty nice and easy hill going on here. I'm going to, whoops, create my next layer, select my color, grab my pencil tool, and draw that in. I'm literally going to go all the way across the screen with my nice and easy hill and pop that color in. Now, when I move it down again, I'll have that next layer, and I'm starting to create my monochromatic landscape. So guys, I would continue doing this for the rest of my picture. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be happy to help you. Thanks so much for watching.